But it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine,
I just forgot to unmute. Anyway,
Alright.
and it's fine. Never mind. Anyway, okay. So I forgot to unmute. Oh God, I forgot to unmute it. Anyway, Surya is a Java programmer, like a really well, like really good Java. Yeah, yeah.
I'm a programmer.
Maz, can you hear now or no?
Me? Oh, fine. Okay.
Is it working now? Is it working? Wait, is the microphone working? Yeah. Hello, Maz. Anyway, Surya is a programmer for Java. Actually, what's the difference between Java and JavaScript?
Java is an older language, much older. It's about 20, 30 odd years old. JavaScript's a little younger. And Java's an object-oriented language, which means it's a little bit more on the back-end side of things. JavaScript is the language of the web, so it's a scripting language. There's a lot of technical differences, but if I got into them, I'd probably take the whole hour and bore you to death. But I somewhat object to being called, not really object, to being called a Java programmer, because you can never be a programmer for just one language, or else you'd be out of a job in about 5 years. Languages change very quickly.
Should I be quiet, or your son is in the chat?
Is my son in the chat?
Yes,
I cannot see the chat. Is there a way for me to see it?
Can I see it on yet? I don't know.
You know
actually.
what? I can run YouTube on my phone and see what horrible things my teenager is saying. Oh wow, okay, I can be on.
Well, I think you should mute the phone because then it'll be echoed.
Yeah, sure.
Like mute the phone.
I will mute the phone, but I'm gonna watch the chats. Let's do that.
Alimi, you're getting watched.
All right, I have multiple devices.
Yes.
I can watch the comments.
I
can watch you.
Is there any difficulties as a Java programmer?
As a programmer, if you want to keep your job, you do have to really love learning. There's just no way around that. There's no sitting still. So I do think, and also in Malaysia, the other thing is that often if you start off technical, you start off as a programmer, which I did. In Malaysia, you'll end up being a manager. You have to fight really hard to not have that happen to you. So that is the choices you're going to have to make as a programmer in Malaysia.
Is there any like stressful part of like programming, like anything wrong with it?
Depends on your personality, what you find stressful. I'm an introvert. It means I hate human beings. So computers make me happy. I don't find them stressful.
Yes. So is it? Yeah. Like I don't know. Actually that's fine. So any like hard like any facts that anything you need to know before programming?
I think one of the things that you really have to go into when you do programming, you have to be very comfortable with frustration.
Something I'm not familiar with.
But you have to get used to it. You have to embrace it. I'm gonna have to sit here for 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks trying to figure out why this particular bit of code doesn't work.
Who do you like? Do you have any like specific jobs, like working for somebody or no?
Your Uncle Faris has clients, right? So he works kind of for himself, is my impression. I work for people, so that means that I get paid a monthly wage. Recently I worked for IBM. So maybe if there are any old people out there, they might know what that is. But IBM pulled out of Malaysia, so now I'm back to working I work for a little company. We write things for telcos, U-Mobile. So back-end systems for U-Mobile and all that. Maybe I shouldn't tell my boss that I'm doing this.
The chat is saying you only focus on Java and not on... You only focus on Java or you work on other languages
No. Wait. Okay. This is from your mom. So,
yes, the chat.
Hello, Mom.
That's her.
Hello, Auntie Surya. And call her Auntie Surya.
Okay.
Surya.
I really don't.
I'm sorry.
Like I said, if you're not okay, I really believe in learning fundamentals. Why do I focus on Java? I don't anymore. I started out in C. I learned Pascal as my first language. I started out in C. I was a C++ programmer for a while. I did Java for 10 years. I'm doing JavaScript now. So in programming, it's a huge sort of set of skills. So you have back end and front end. So front end would be JavaScript and would be all the web stuff and all the UI design. Even that's split up. You have the web apps and you have the web stuff on the back end, and you're using the Java and the PHP and stuff like that. So when you do all of it, you're full stack. So when you read the term full stack developer, it's someone that does both. So these days, I do kind of try to say, oh, I'm a full stack developer because it sounds so cool. And then around that whole idea of full stack developer, there's a whole raft of skills that come with it. So there's system administration, which is what I think your first interview, Uncle John, is that his name? He's a system admin. So a good program will have some small subset of those skills. And will know how to set up a server at the very basic level. Will know how to set up a database. So there's a whole host of skills that goes around the whole thing of being a programmer. And the more of it you can touch and the more of it you know, the better. And the more, when I started out, I learned, my degree is computer engineering, which means I did both programming and electrical engineering, which means I learned all those zeros and ones. And a lot of people who do just programming maybe aren't so familiar with that. But the zeros and ones are becoming more important now. You know why? Can you take a guess? Because of IoT, all those little devices that can't send much and don't have a lot of space, and their signals are tiny, tiny, tiny. So the knowledge of the deep down underneath how you pick apart little bits of information, it's IoT, you don't send a lot of information, small little bits of data. So understanding all of that, top to bottom, is very, very helpful. So as you grow into being a developer or a programmer, you're developing that whole series of skills. Does that help, Mummy?
Any like, have you ever had to wake up in the middle of the night to do a job or no?
Oh, absolutely. Wake up early, sleep late, never sleep. I do sleep. Yeah, definitely.
Wake up at 12 a.m. to finish like someone just.
I never sleep for 2 days just to finish to hit a deadline. Yeah. I try to do that less. The older you get, the better you get. Hopefully you do it less. But yeah, hitting deadlines is tricky. There's never enough time.
So what is the difficult part of being a programmer? Like the most difficult personally to you?
I like most of it. I like being a programmer. I don't find anything particularly. Like I said, it's a matchup of your personality and the job itself. So if you're curious, able to adapt, and you enjoy challenges and can take frustration, and if you don't like human beings, then there's nothing particularly difficult. It's just keeping on top of it all.
What is the most frustrating language to you?
The jump to Python is giving me some trouble. It's a very different kind of language. I do think certain languages require mental shifts. So C is a very, very close to the bits and bytes sort of language. So the C language, you do see the zeros and ones. You do see how memory is manipulated. But it's the granddaddy of all programming languages. So if you start with that, you've got a good foundation for just about everything else. Java and C++ and Objective-C and C#, those are object-oriented languages. So you think about things in terms of everything's an object. So you are a person, and behind you, you have a 3D printer, and all of those are objects, and you define everything in terms of objects. And then you have the newer languages, JavaScript being one of them, Python being another. They're kind of functional, and you think of things in, well, that's a particular behavior that I want. I want this thing to do this, and I have to put together a bunch of behaviors and line them all up and make all those behaviors work together. And each of those mental shifts, you spend months thinking, oh, I was a good programmer, and now I'm really bad, until you pick it back up again. And I'm sure that in a couple more years, there'll be another mental shift to some other sort of language and some other way of thinking. The shift that I'm seeing now is into cloud. So again, C++, C language.
Any tips for being a programmer that we should know about?
Get over wanting a UI.
Any what kind of programming language would you recommend to be a first to learn?
Again, okay, now this is a very tricky question. You know why? I hate Scratch.
Any like, so like, why do you hate Scratch?
Okay.
Why do you hate it? Why do you hate it?
Why do I hate Scratch? Here's my thinking. Someone told me, okay, I told someone I hate Scratch, and they said, oh well, that's good for kids who don't know how to type, and they're absolutely right. So I had to stop. Oh,
Yes,
I'm a bit wrong.
2 years old. Yes, 2 years old cannot even search in the search bar. Yes, they have to use drag and drop.
Yeah.
But like Scratch, like there's like certain like drag and drop apps who are like easy.
Yeah, I've seen Scratch. I know what it is.
Yeah, like drag and drop
like it?
games and stuff. They're like
What have you got against Scratch?
like
Oh, is that for Mika or for me?
like
No, you, Surya.
Like-
you.
Okay.
like
Your mom asked, what do I have against Scratch? Oh, Zaini, come into the frame. I'd love to talk to you.
she's moving to the go.
I background je.
Tak apa, duduklah sini, senang sikit nak bercakap.
Hang on.
Why do I hate Scratch? It's personal. It's an opinion. But here's what I think.
They can
Programming is very much a thing of the mind. You have to get used to. Your friend Farid said it too. It's all problem solving. It's all in your head. So to get so used to the UI, you lose that joy and that acceptance of, well, it has to be in my head where I'm seeing all this going on. And I think it's detrimental because I did a master's in UKM and I met a lot of undergrads who went undergrad straight to masters, and the skills weren't there. Part of it is because of an over-reliance on UI.
start charging me.
Hello.
Hello.
Mom, you'll be
So
a
you're like-
co-host. You'll be a
But
co-host
I
now.
have a few questions for because I
You're a
want you to be
co-host. Now
programmer.
you're a co-host. Now
So-
I can go
Hi,
and
co-host.
I can go now and you can talk to.
I look so
Co-host means you stay and you tell me how you like Unity.
So it's so you like texts.
I think in this day and age, you have to get over that fear
yeah.
and get over it quick.
Like Scratch, like certain drag and drop games are fun, but some really you have to think, and for people who are like very young, I don't know if they even like possible of doing it.
Like I said before, I actually don't think you should be. That it's so necessary to learn programming so young. It's not necessary.
To Adrian.
I think it's fine.
How old was I when I started programming? Like
I don't know, like 10 something.
I do agree.
Sorry, you were saying? Wait, listen
I
lah.
couldn't type.
Listen to Auntie Surya. lah.
Okay. Yes.
I think digital literacy matters more. So I would promote literacy over programming. Not everyone should be a programmer. I really disagree with that point of view. Everyone should be computer literate, if at all possible. But programming is a very specific discipline requiring a specific sort of personality. And if it's not your personality, then you're just going to hurt yourself. So don't. Farid said it too. It's all problem solving.
Hello.
It's all. If you don't like that, don't do it.
So
If you're
how
wrong.
long do you give the kids, like, if you don't like it, like what?
Like a time frame? Like
Yeah,
How,
like-
like how like. In
2
this,
months, 2
in-
years?
In this time span, I want to know if you hate this or not, right?
But that's the lovely thing about programming. You can always start and restart, stop and restart, stop and restart. There's no timeline. Kids change. That is the reality of things. Kids do change. I'll tell you about the boys, my boys, if you like, the boys that I work with. So I have a small little group of boys that I help with programming from Whiting's Click Venture group. So I
And
have
they're
a
in the
seven.
chat right now.
They're in the chat right now. They're gonna
So supportive. Hi, boys.
They're in the chat right now.
There you go. Anime said it too. I love that. He says we should all be able to write, but not everyone needs to be Shakespeare.
Yeah.
That's
Well said.
well said.
Yeah, and programming is cheap to try and retry. There's so many free resources out there. Tell you truthfully, music isn't. There you go, Anime. But I was bad to the boys, and when I was helping the Click Venture boys, and I told them I did not let them touch Scratch, and we did go through at it as in a problem-solving kind of way. So there are sites like Code Wars. So, and these are programming where you solve small little problems. So you start at the very low level, doing like an if statement, doing like a while loop, and you build up and you build up and you build up and you build up. So after a couple of years, I'm looking at the boys that I've been working with, and they can write Unity, and I don't know C#, and Unity is in C#. C# is not one of my working languages, but they can read that code. They switch languages fearlessly because they don't feel any reliance on any tools. They know that it's just text. And they know at the very deep down level, it's an if statement, it's a loop. The fundamentals are there, so nothing shakes them.
I think
And they're the
young,
ones teaching. Yeah.
I think kids have
Right.
no fear towards most of the things.
I'm gonna stick my
You
hand in
ask them to
Paco's
try,
I
okay, you
want-
do.
I will stick my
I
hand
wanna
in
encourage
Paco's
their
mouth if it
fearlessness.
doesn't kill me.
Yeah, but you have to be sensible. We spent, I'm sure your mom spent a lot of time teaching you to be sensible before trusting you.
Yeah, Mika. Don't make me look bad.
He's making you look good, don't worry.
I don't understand what's going on.
Nothing. I
I
was
just
just
hear
asking on
parents-
behalf of us, homeschooling mom.
I'm just
Okay.
hearing.
Thanks for your input, Surya. Back to the career.
Mom, you're meant
Say.
you're meant to stay and I'm supposed to go.
This is for you. You need to know what
Well,
you want
well,
to do for your career. I mean, you need to know what you want to do.
A college dropout?
No, you don't even go to college yet.
I don't even
You
go
can
to school
definitely be a
yet. I
college
think that's the
dropout.
best
That's fine,
thing.
but you have to earn money.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter says the same thing. What school? I do you.
What is school? So naive.
But it's recess. I do you.
It's
Recess all the time.
it's technically recess. Like what is like your work? Like what do you do? Like what's your job time? 9 to 5 or most people 9 to 5?
Depends very much on the job. So when I was working for IBM, yeah, pretty much a 9-hour work day. I've been working remotely and from home for the past
Yeah.
12, 13 years. So you can imagine that the pandemic has been quite easy for me because there's no change. Ha! Monstrous teenager.
Alimi,
Someone ask-
Alimi, your monster of a sister is key. I'm kidding, obviously. But anyway, what operating software do you use? Like Windows, Mac, or?
Another trick question and another one where I'm going to answer miserably. I say be good at all of them.
No, like which one do you personally use, like on a day-to-day basis?
When I was in IBM, I was on a Windows machine. Right now, I'm on my Mac. So for about a year where I was working for IBM, I was switching back and forth constantly. And I think a programmer should be comfortable on Unix boxes. So I will often like SSA. I will access a remote server somewhere and type in commands. That's why no fear of the command line. So I don't use Linux on a day-to-day basis, but I think what I want to say is don't get hung up. Just dive in and do.
What like? How much like time do you spend programming each day? Like a rough.
Well, I do it's a full-time job for me. Of course, I work full-time, so it is kind of like an 8 to 9 hours, but it can be spread out in all sorts of different ways. And programming is a lot like in your head. You're sitting there thinking about a problem, and sometimes I might be doing that while cooking, which looks really strange. So, yeah, I'm programming and I'm thinking about something in my head, but I'm also cooking with Chennai. So, depends very much on how you work.
Do you have like random ideas that just pop into your brain and it's like,
Okay.
yes, this is a great idea.
All right, this is the difference between me and your Uncle Faris. So maybe your Uncle Faris will have the ability to, I have this lovely idea for an app, I'm going to make it. But when you're from like someone like me who's working for other people, it's not about ideas. It's not about like, okay, this is the feature that I need to add. This is how I'm going to implement it. And I don't know how I'm going to implement it. Or this is the bug that I'm having or the bug that we're seeing. How do I narrow it down? How do I fix it? So no, it's not really about create. Some programmers do. They
Oh
come
god,
up with
the
a great
chat's
idea.
piling up. The chat's piling. All right, my mom's saying, given the choice, what would you do something else for a living? Like if you had a choice and you have these skills already.
Okay, this is another tricky question. I won't some of the guys will say that they've loved programming since they were teenagers. This is for your mom, so this might be a little bit weird for you, but I kind of fell into it because my mom thought it'd be good for me. We were hoping to find a career that would allow me to be. I do have aptitude for STEM, so I always had some aptitude for a good way to understand math. I do have the aptitude, just like my son. My son has the aptitude for math. We're good at it, but I also there's a part of me that's very artistic. Like it says there, I'm a crafter, I make stuff. So my mom was really hoping to find a way that I could do a little bit of both, and we were hoping computer science would be it. And programming is a little bit halfway. It's not quite a fully a science, it's a little bit of an art because it's a language. So how you speak, if you speak like Shakespeare, you can be a Shakespeare-like programmer where your code is just beautiful. And you could be a really plodding along programmer, and sometimes when I see the code of someone like that, I'm screaming, why did you do that in that terrible, stupid way? So yes, back to the question. I don't know, this is my life. I'm okay with it. I like programming. I don't mind it. I love crafting. I'd love it if I could retire into that.
The chat is asking how much time you need to spend doing programming. Like, how much time do you need to spend doing? Like, for me, I can answer that. Like, it takes time to understand something. You can't just plop down in a math, like, sit down in a math, like, in math class and just learn algebra in like 3 seconds. That's impossible. You need to have time.
Programming is a skill. In order to earn from it, you have to develop a skill. Depends on what you want to do. I do actually think that the 4 years that a degree program is, the 3 or 4 years, is a reasonable amount of time to expect. So no, those things that say, oh, learn programming in 3 months and make 3,000, how many thousand ringgit a month? Sorry, no.
Like programming is
a new language for me, I can pick up a new language in about 2 weeks. But to get to the level where
you know the thing, you can just like you already know what you're gonna do.
Like maybe a few months for me with 20 years experience. So
someone with less could be like take longer, maybe a year.
To get really, really good, maybe a year to switch languages and switch career, to switch. I'm always carrying 2-3 languages at one time. So I'm working in Java and working in JavaScript. So I started out in C#, and I was doing C# and Java simultaneously for a while. And then the C# dropped off and I stepped into Java. And then I was doing Java and JavaScript simultaneously for quite a while until, well, Java hasn't died yet, but it might. And now I'm picking up things like Angular, which is a TypeScript JavaScript. And I'm doing that parallelly while learning Python with boys. So having multiple languages going forward and keeping the headspace for that is par for the course.
What programming language is used to make video games? Like, I know C# is used in Unity, but what else? Sorry.
For you want the shooters, it's still going to be C or C++. Those are the most performant languages. That means if you want 60 frame rates per second, you've got to be very, very performant. You've got to talk directly to the graphics chips. I was a game programmer for 2 years. I wrote for Game Boy. So to that, you will need C. That's the most performance of languages. There are games now written in Java. Web games can be written in JavaScript. I actually don't think that's a bad choice. If you want to write games and build up a resume, here's the thing. You want a resume you can show someone quickly? Put it on the web. Make a web page.
Everyone in the chat, don't be worried about typing any questions, because that's what this entire thing is for, questions and answering. And yeah, what kind of like languages, like what language was the first language you picked up?
Pascal. In my uni days. Logo. You know what Logo is?
I've not heard of it.
Zaini, do you know what Logo is?
My mom's in the kitchen.
Oh, this would be so much fun. Logo was a little language that you would move a tiny turtle around and draw pictures when I was a teenager. I am so old.
That kind of reminds me of my old like I used to learn Python in this kind, and like you used to make, like it worked kind of like the turtle, where you would draw stuff with a turtle, and then like
Python can do a lot more. Logo can only move the turtle around.
Yeah, no, like the Python program, like it could like just draw circles and squares and like pick up and brought the pencil and draw around. Exactly. Then my brain was like, can someone make actually good art using this turtle?
You'd be
But then I
surprised.
never. I forgot about. I forgot about that turtle actually. Now.
That's logo. Yeah, that's. You probably learned that as a throwback to those old days. That's what everyone learned when I was a kid.
So
The very basics
like,
of programming. But I wasn't around for Fortran, which is one of the granddaddy languages. I don't know Fortran. I don't intend to learn.
so like you shouldn't like you shouldn't like still stay on. You shouldn't like balance yourself on one language. You should like branch out.
No, never. You'll die. Sorry. Be ready.
So like how many years did it take for like a programming language to absolutely die?
It depends on the language.
Yeah, it has been answered. Yeah, it's like it takes like a while. Yeah, Limi,
Yes.
it's been answered already. Yeah, it takes a while to learn a language.
It depends very much on the person. Adli, it depends on the person. Depends on your aptitude. Okay, say for a kid to depends on what you want to do. Also, like I said before, programming and software development is a continuum. There's a whole bunch of things you can do. It's a huge field these days. So depending on what you want to do, the amount of time it takes to learn how to do it varies. So if you have a specific thing you want to ask me how long it'll take to do, I'll try and answer.
So like any like specific like different things like what's like is there any programming language that are like roughly the same?
Yeah, I was telling you the classes of languages: object-oriented versus functional, Lisp or the Haskell languages, which is what are they called? I forget, but they are also somewhat functional. And then you have the very performant languages like C, which are like you manage your own memory, you talk directly to computer chips. And then you have like the object-oriented languages, which is Java and C++ and C#. And those are used more for backend. Operating systems are still written in C. So there are classes of languages. And if you learn more of the scripting languages like JavaScript and now Python, scripting languages, you're more to the higher end of things. Those are higher level languages. So at the very bottom is assembly. That's the zeros and ones that you talk to the chips with. That's assembly language. Step up from that is C. Step up from that is the object-oriented languages, which would be C++ and Java. Step up from that are the scripting languages. Even Java is a step up from C++ because it is an interpreted language, and you have the Java virtual machine. Step up from that is the scripting languages like JavaScript. So there's a continuum of languages. How close you are to the chip, how far away are you from the chip? So that continuum is what you're looking at.
There's a question in the chat. Can programming help with other jobs?
Absolutely, certainly. But I wouldn't start at programming thinking of another job. Start at your other job and pick up programming.
Mm-hmm. What's your opinion on HTML?
It's not really a language. It's a markup. It's right there. It's hypertext markup language.
What's the difference between that one and a programming language? What's the difference?
Okay, so HTML, you have tags. You will say, this is the body, this is the head. This is a title. This is a header. This is a list. Does that sound like behavior to you? Does it sound like it's doing anything?
No, it's just like that, like print words.
Yes, exactly. So it's like, it's not, there's no interactivity in HTML itself. That's why HTML comes as a stack. You have HTML and you have CSS and you have JavaScript. So HTML is the markup language, saying this is how it looks. This is the bare bones of something. And then you have CSS, which is called a cascading style sheet. Now, CSS is the work of UI designers. It's the thing that says, I want this text to be red, and I want this text to behave this way. And when the screen shrinks, I want this to do that. And that's styling. And that's CSS, and it's still not a programming language. A very valid thing to learn, very valuable, not a programming language. Then you get into JavaScript. And now JavaScript will tell you, click this button and do this.
It's a question. Joanne's saying that what would you think is the best or most famous web framework right now, or in the future?
Although I don't speak it. Joanne, we learn React, although I don't know how. I know a little bit of React, but React is a good choice. All three of those are good. Angular and React are more frameworks. Flutter is a bit bigger than that. Any of those three are good. You probably end up having to know some of each.
Any questions for me from my programming experience?
How did you enjoy Unity? How's it going? Have you written a game yet?
Stuck on collision. I can't work the collision.
Right. And you're doing the 3D one. The 3D.
Yeah, because 3D is more interesting. Like 2D, 2D is easier because then you can like move it up and down. But like,
And you understand the XY, right?
but not many games are not many like really famous like extreme
Ooh,
ones.
take
are.
that back.
Sorry, like Mario's
You know, I'm
extreme.
just joking.
Yeah, like not like it's like very few famous games are like, well, maybe like hundreds, but very few famous games are 2D. Most are 3D. So if we learn how, I see more I see more famous people. Sorry, famous games more 3D-ish, like PUBG, Fortnite. I know Fortnite's gonna die soon, but like most games are 3D. So learning how to work a 3D game is like more like, if you're learning how to Unity program, 3D is more like intuitive and better.
Here's my 2 cents. If you learn the 2D, the 3D will be easier. Collision is based on math. Bounding boxes when things hit, and you'll be able to see that math better when you work on the 2D stuff.
Anyway, stop. I'm trying to. Please don't spam.
Surya loves 2D games, and I'm with him. There are many beautiful 2D games. Here's the other thing we found. When the boys and me did try to write a Unity, writing a Unity game, we started out with 2D.
Stop yelling. Anyway, stop.
My monstrous son.
Stop.
It's okay. You can ignore him.
I thought okay. Stop. Okay.
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 Um,
Okay. Anyway, I thought that was like a chat cooldown. I didn't actually realize that there's this.
So again, my 2 cents. Okay, 2 cents. Doing the 2D will help you understand 3D. Continue again. So and also here's the other thing. 3D modeling is really difficult. So it means we had a hard time getting assets to be able to personalize the game.
So
but
you're saying I should start with 2D first and then start.
I'm saying you should do what your reasons are valid. I'm just saying it's much harder to personalize a 3D game because you could open up your computer, bring up Paint, and you draw your own sprite. Ta-da! Your game is already looking like something that you made yourself. But it's very hard to pick up Blender. The learning curve for 3D modeling is really high.
Yeah, I've tried. I've barely able to make a small donut. I've not been able to make a human being.
Exactly. So how can you make the game look at your own? And how can you put your own feeling and your own stamp into a game if you can't create your own assets? So there are ways around that. You could certainly buy assets, but I'm just saying that that's something to put in your head when you think about 2D versus 3D. Getting assets for 3D, really hard. Coming up with assets for 2D, much easier.
Any like hard to like understand? Okay, wait. This question: how old are you when? Wait,
How old am I?
How old are you?
Take a guess. I love this.
Okay, my sister's finally here.
Hi. Adley, guess. I'd love it.
All right. Okay, guess her age. She's older than 20 though.
Absolutely. You know how old my kids are.
Oh God. My dad's in the chat as well. No. The pressure is on.
I know. Adley is asking. I don't know Adley. Do I know Adley? Adley Issa. I've been a professional working programmer for 23 years.
And then plus that with her days of being in school.
Yeah, and I have a degree, so you can imagine how old I am. Really, really old. I'm 80, someone said.
80?
Oh, lovely. Adley Issa says in my 30s. That is so kind. Thank you.
So say you're 80? Really?
So
how many questions for the master typist? And okay.
I'm not a master typist. So I know you asked Uncle Faris, does he type fast? And you also asked him what one of his hobbies was, and he said he does puzzles. And okay, think about it this way: if you had a box of like 100 puzzle pieces, and you just pick them out as fast as you can, is that useful?
I mean, if it's a competition and mess your room up, then definitely.
Exactly. But in terms of solving the puzzle, is that useful?
You could
So-
surprisingly land two pieces might stick together, but that's like 1 in a million.
Exactly. So does speed matter?
Not really.
Same for programming. Programming is about problem solving. So typing fast, does it help or not?
And looks.
That's a big deal.
Maz is saying you look. Yeah, people are saying you're
Oh,
like 30.
that's so interesting.
And people are saying for the looks like
Yes,
40,
I agree, like 35.
roughly.
Oh, joy. That is so nice.
Well, are you older than that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Way older.
Yes.
Well, she's like a millennia years old, and we're just the peasants wondering their age.
I was having fun. I was speaking to a programmer in his 20s, and I said my first language was Pascal. Pascal is a very old language and very dead at this point. So he said, "Are you 18?" I said, "Yeah, I'm 18." So that's his joke, and my joke.
So you're not 80 years old, 'cause that would...
No, I'm not. I'm not 18.
So any like hard facts to be a programmer? Like you need to know this in order to know this.
I would say
50,
get
seriously?
comfortable with math. You're seeing that right now, right? When you do collision detection, when you
Hi,
understand.
Run.
Hi, baby. This is not a programmer.
That's the,
She is Ren.
that's the
Hi.
artist of the family.
She's the artist. She's the one who creates 2D assets for the game we're working on now. She's created some of the 2D assets for it. So I'm not discouraging you from doing 3D. Just have clarity about what you can and cannot do.
But do you need like good like for 2D games when you like draw them? Do you need to have good drawing skills?
Actually, no, because it's very easy to take something off the web and modify as needed.
Yes, plagiarism. Perfect.
When you're learning, it's fine. Please don't go and release that game out into the public and say, "I made all of this." But you can say, "Well,
Alright, I'm gonna take this MacBook Air, shove and sell it online and say that I made it. I'll just paste I'll just scribble words saying nothing air. There you go.
But
That's my
you know what? You could do a game where you take pictures. A 2D game, you can just take your camera phone out there, take pictures of trees, and you can already be
Like
using
Pokemon
that.
Snap.
I don't. In spite of my enjoyment of games, I have not played Pokemon Snap. But-
It's basically it's like Pokemon, but it's on a 2D thing. It's like camera to take photos of the Pokemon. It's an old game.
So that, I mean, I'm not saying don't be discouraged from doing 3D. I'm just saying that, my 2 cents.
Try 2D first. Try both.
Your dad says share this link with Mikael. I'm not sure which link.
I'm confused. I also don't understand.
Yeah, no worries.
Dad, what do you want us to do? Help us.
That sounds like
What
my
do you
son.
mean?
What do you want me to do, Ma?
Help, please. Thank you. What am I supposed to? What is that doing?
Oh, you were asking me. What do you need to know?
How do you share the link? I want to know.
Is that my WhatsApp on screen?
I think so. Because I don't use
Uh,
WhatsApp.
get comfortable with math. You don't need high level math, but feel solid in your math. It'll help.
Just
Type Alex here. Wait, hang on.
what what's the word?
Yeah, Alex.
Alex, not Alex.
It's not coming up.
What is the any
Funny
Like-
stories.
sorry no. What
No,
is
we're
Funny
doing
story?
funny
Okay, fine.
How about I
stories.
ask you, my Sarah, what do you think? Would you want to be a programmer, knowing that
No.
programmers are
Nah, she wants to be
overwhelmed?
an illustrator.
No, not at
She said
all.
it many times already. She wants to be an
Right.
illustrator.
You want to hang with that young lady?
Programming is kind of boring.
That's my thing. She's
What do you think so?
drawer.
What do you think
Did
so?
you show?
She's artist.
It's like typing.
Did you show
for
to
a
Surya
living.
your new Tilo that can be programmed?
Tello, not
Tilo. Like what
Hello?
Tilo?
You wanna go and take?
You give it to us. You take it for us.
Wow.
We are not the peasants. I'm kidding.
You have no screen time for the rest of your life.
Okay,
How
I'm
did you become
sorry.
a programmer
I'm
like
sorry, okay?
It's fine. Then you can just type on the command line.
Okay,
no
I
screen.
have it. You can program this drone with a lot of.
You can do drone swarming with drone swarming. Drone swarming.
It's got a
Yeah,
camera.
but this kind of programming, that's zeros and ones.
What?
The lowest of the
Was it?
low-level
You
programming.
can use Scratch on this.
Scratch and Swift.
But when you want to do this, say you want to create behavior that does Have you seen those videos where the drones are behaving in a swarm?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this one does swarm.
That is the
It can
future.
swarm. It can swarm. it
This
can
one
swarm.
does.
So if you
It can
if
swarm.
you want to code that swarm code, if you want to get down to the deep down nitty gritty bits of it, zeros and ones.
Not this
AI
one.
behavior.
This can swarm.
This one can swarm and do body recognition.
And it can record videos, and if you're
Yeah,
like,
based on someone else's
720p.
code. But if you want to write that code,
Yeah. We don't reuse code. We do reuse
No.
code.
I absolutely agree with reusing code. I'm just talking about the reality of where you want to place yourself on that spectrum when you're job hunting and when you're preparing for a career. It is a spectrum. Right to the bottom, right up to the top. Where are you? Where's your interest? So that's the thing.
Any like difficulties as like a programmer?
funny stories.
Funny stories.
I
sorry.
already
funny
break
stories. Any funny
You want
stories?
funny stories? I think it's quite tricky to be a girl programmer. There are very, very few of us. I walk in, I don't know if it's funny or not, but this is the reality that they'll go in and think I'm the receptionist. It's kind of fun. They don't know what you do until you like go up there and you're standing up there showing the code. Well, I wrote this code and this does that. So you get to be a chameleon when you're a girl programmer. They really don't expect you. And
Respect.
did I find coding hard when I first
no,
learned it?
where's the screen?
How much money do I make?
No,
That's a
screen sharing.
little bit personal.
Screen share already. You already are.
Yeah.
Are you seeing the screen? No.
For me? Are you asking me or asking the boys?
Look at
your
the,
kids.
look in the chat.
Mm.
Are you look? No, hang on. On Skype. On Skype, do you see Mikaya or do you see a screen share?
I see Mika. I've got my phone next to me, running on a separate network with YouTube on. So I'm watching your channel.
Okay, so you see the game that I'm sharing or that we're
Oh
sharing?
yeah, I see it now. Cool.
This
Sure.
game, just for your information, I have all the 3D assets, the sound and everything, the source file for this game.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like I was telling
Oh,
Mika,
it's his
certainly
friend
you
that
can.
made it.
So
You
if-
absolutely can use pre-made 3D assets for your game.
no, this
but-
is a game already on Steam, PS3, PS4, and Windows. And so the owners of this game has given me rights to have all the 3D characters and assets and music. So
It would be wonderful if a child could take that and turn it into a game. Here's my question though. Could a child with zero programming, zero computer literacy, take one of those models and modify its shape on his own? That is the tricky part.
So there's
That's the kind of the point that I'm trying to make.
yeah. So anyway, there's two ways to skin this cat. So
Absolutely. Many ways to skin the cat.
having said
Why
that,
are you skinning a cat?
did you ask her?
It's
Did you
fun.
ask her
That's
whether?
what we do as parents.
Did you ask her whether she has a cat?
Well, do you have a cat? You
I
acquire,
skinned it.
you acquire the knowledge of do you have a cat? It is now a
I've seen
tradition.
some questions in the chat. How much money do I make as a programmer? That's
Oh, right,
a little bit personal, but I make enough to support 2 kids as a single mother, so maybe that'll answer that question. For children, what course do they start learning? I have very strange opinions on that. I actually think
What's that thing?
sorry, Khan Academy has a great programming course. It's cheap, it's wonderful. The presenter's a lady. You can ask my son, and you can ask Xuan, and you can ask Yunze. They started on that. I like Code Wars and the programming sites that make you solve problems. So the little programming things that make you do if statements and else statements and do loops, those are all
There's 14
a
people.
lot of fun.
Any like difficulties like when acquiring like any like problems like when you like upload the code to like Arduino?
Oh.
Have you ever had like when you're uploading code is like you mess one
Mhm.
like thing up and then the entire thing just breaks?
Programming is full of frustration. So
That's why I'm not doing it.
yeah, you know yourself. That's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
In my early days, I spent 2 hours trying to find where I'm missing a semicolon. That's very common in programming.
Maybe
Or,
you
hours and hours where, I misconfigured that. It's different on this server, it's different on that server. And you're just racking your mind. Why is it different on this server and that server? So, yeah, there are frustrations. but it's also really fun. I finally got it. I am so cool. I am the master of the universe.
Galaxy brain. Like, have you ever like deleted like a lot of code once on accident?
That's why we have something called source control.
Swiss what?
Source control software.
Swiss control. Yes, the
Source.
Swiss
That's always
cheese take control of the universe now.
source control. So, it's one of the first things that I think we didn't have a lot of source control when I was a young when I just started out, but now there are a lot of places where you can put your code up, and this is probably this is where people will share their stuff. So
Like
when GitHub is source control. So nowadays when I start a project, the first thing you do is set up your source control, and then make sure you're very good. At the end of the day, upload. Therefore, yeah, you do lose chunks of code, but not massive, huge amounts of it.
So it's like
So-
a safety net.
Yeah, it's a necessity. And it's one of those parallels, because I was saying, like, programming is a continuum. It's got the back end, you've got the front end, you've got all the skills around it. Source management, source code management, project management is part of those extra skills.
Any like,
Do you use Windows or Mac?
I already asked the question.
Everything! Don't get hung up on these things. Get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
But I live.
Break all them windows.
But you're not supposed
And
to
actually, here,
break all windows. Ah yes.
if there are any parents listening, I'll say this. When I was teaching the boys, I always say, if the kid can have their own computer, that would be best, but not absolutely necessary. But if they can't have their own computer, they should have admin privileges. Because you guys have to get good at installing your own software, keeping your own software up to date. But when you give kids that power, you know what you might do? You might really mess up the notebook. That's fine. You just have to remember that, yeah, there are ways to get everything back. Make sure you save your code a lot, save it to the cloud, there's Google Drive, and be ready to maybe blow up your operating system once or twice. That's just part of learning. And I know parents are very fearful of this.
Why is someone asking this question? I feel unfair. Why?
He's 5 years old,
I-
by the way.
Look, I'm 5 years old. I'm so tiny. I'm kidding. I'm not. But
He's
why?
a cat.
No, I have a cat. I skinned it.
All right. Now we have
Now
we have a great idea to report to the authorities. Now we have a great idea. How that is an inhumane way. that is terrible.
No, I don't have a cat. I think he wishes he had a cat. But my mom's allergic.
wishes.
But there are cats in the neighborhood.
So if you can't have a cat, you will take a cat from the
Borrow
wild.
someone else.
Yes, you will steal a cat. Yes, thievery. Perfect. This is exactly.
Yeah, pet him for a little while, then let him go.
Yeah, Auntie Surya, you actually this this class has the most. I think it's gonna be higher, but like currently there's like the peak was at 14. The peak viewership. And why is someone asking this question? I feel I don't know how. Do I feel obliged to answer or am I
You
forced
can
to
do what I
answer?
do and ask people to guess.
Guess. I swear, if any of you will say the answer, I'm gonna cry in a box. I'm kidding, but still, don't say it. 8 likes.
My son, maybe we can talk about. You want to be an illustrator, right?
Yeah.
Digital or traditional.
What?
Digital or traditional illustrator?
Digital.
No, like sometimes I'm doing traditional, sometimes I'm doing digital. I don't really know.
She just switches back and forth.
It depends. I like to use highlighters, so that's.
Oh, that's
But I
interesting.
lost my yellow one, so I can't do blonde hair anymore.
For sunshine.
This person-
What, you have an idea of how you're going to? You want to do this professionally, right?
So my age, everyone's saying that, and I'm okay. This.
Oh, you're 7. That's joyful.
Oh, you're 7. That's joy.
Okay.
You say it like so
Okay.
giddy, like,
Okay. Can anyone? Okay. It's okay. It's
Guess
it's
my
okay.
age.
It's okay. Guess hers first. Sir, please go on.
So
Yes, please.
maybe if you don't mind, my Sarah, I'll see a few things that I was.
13.
I have a
My
daughter who
sister
wants to be an
asked
illustrator.
question. How old is my sister?
So I maybe if you don't mind,
She's not
I'll
that
say a few things that I've seen watching my daughter trying to become an illustrator.
She's
There's a learning curve there too. She's had to learn how to use different types of paintbrushes, different types of tools, and to get fast. I was speaking to a homeschooling dad, and who was a comic book illustrator for a little while, and he said you got to be good and you got to be fast. So I mean, there's certainly a learning curve and a skill set there too that you'll need. And I'm watching as my own daughter tries to build it. And it has its own sets of frustration because I see no
So
screaming.
my sister.
I don't have enough layers in Procreate. And say, oh, why won't this brush behave the way I think it behaves? And why can't I do this effect in this particular way? So getting fast and
10 years
learn.
old, huh? Is that correct? Is this person right here beside me 10 years old?
My monstrous daughter is about to pound me.
Wait.
Boom,
Oh, God.
boom, boom. I can hear her dinosaur footsteps. I can imagine.
So she's she is 10 years old.
Stop
Can you?
pointing at me. It's kind of rude.
She is 10 years old.
Well, okay. And let's talk about careers. Okay. You asked me whether programming would help you in another job. So my son has broken my heart and decided he wants to be a music professor. But he has spent years learning how to program. But you know what that does for him? He has computer literacy. So that you know what that's done for him? He can edit 2-hour videos of and put them up on YouTube. So literacy
What program?
applies
What
everywhere.
editing software does he use?
You can ask him directly. iMovie.
iMovie.
It's enough. He has worked with
Question.
oh, I forget what the Adobe one is called.
Ooh,
Premiere.
Yeah. Okay. So my age is okay. Just to clear it out, I am 13, but my mental age is like 3, so it's perfectly
Oh,
fine.
I have a question about cryptocurrency.
What are your
okay, no,
thoughts?
I
Yes,
was gonna be a music
one
professor.
thought.
I am 13 and my mental age is 3. I have failed.
It's a sun.
It's a sign.
It's alright.
I-
You can play rock
I
now, it's
am-
fine.
Son. Guys,
Okay,
wait,
my
wait,
phone-
on your account
wait. So wait. There's a person that's saying 10 is explained. Wait, are you talking to who? Who are you talking to? My
Is
sister
it
or
this
me?
glorious, handsome young man beside me, or is it me?
Technically, I'm the garbage patch, but still it's fine.
I am the landfill.
I am going to answer the cryptocurrency question. I love the idea of cryptocurrency. I love the idea that cryptocurrency is like it's like a chain. It's called blockchain for a reason. The technology is about, well, I'm gonna encrypt this little transaction and I'm gonna make it in such a way that no one can change it. So any promise I make to you, like, oh, I'm gonna give you $5, is going to be recorded, and there's no way to take it back or lose it. That's the whole idea of blockchain. And the idea that we can make everything so that we take power into our own hands. I love that. But I also don't
I am 13.
think that
Well,
time is quite now. I think Bitcoin at this point has no weight. It's too complex because the system of money works only when people agree on it, and there's a whole society and there's a whole bunch of rules and everything is binding. That's when currency works. And I don't see that happening with Bitcoin. So I love the idea of democratizing money so that everyone, we take it into our own hands and we're not beholden to anyone. That's a wonderful idea. I don't think Bitcoin is the answer yet.
Very interesting.
Was that a complicated answer? Or does that
You betcha. Well, technically, it wasn't. So as summary of that long lecture.
So basically, it's good. Bitcoin isn't good enough yet.
idea is good, but it's not. The time is not now.
Yes, that's exactly what I said.
I am 13. Okay, everyone. Yes, I am. Sorry, I'm 12. I am 12. Okay, everyone can calm down in the chat, and please stop spamming. Okay.
I am turning 11 this
Okay.
July.
Now, what are the questions? Okay, what are the questions to the chat?
Questions.
Chat, what other questions do we have? Chat.
Chat. I see thank you.
Oh, there's a mess.
Where do you see thank you? I do wonder, where do you see thank you? Please show me a picture.
What aspect of being a programmer
has caused any programmer to leave the
Get a lot of attrition. I think a lot of people. Okay, like I said before.
frustration? Yes. Okay. Good.
Hello,
Good.
Ashley.
Summary.
Hi,
Programming is frustration.
Okay, you get a lot of attrition. That means people drop out. So you might have people starting off as a programmer, but people branch off and end up as managers. And people end up being on the UI side of things, which is still programming, but which is not the kind of stuff which I do, which is very, very like back end. And I think it's actually quite bad for our country because, in a way, there's a chart that shows how many years it needs to be good enough to be like a UI program, to program very high level stuff. It takes about 10 years to get good enough. And then people run off and become managers and run off and become UI designers, which is perfectly valid, but it reduces the pool of talent. So yeah, I think personality mismatch is one of the big things. A lot of people just go, I'm going to IT because it's easy to get into and all the scholarships are for IT. But if you don't come into it knowing what it is and what it means, then yeah, you're going to get frustrated and you're going to end up sidelined to some other career. So, and like I said, I don't think programming is for everyone. If you're an introvert and you love problem solving, you can stand frustration, you have some aptitude for STEM, some aptitude for math, then yeah, programming is for you. And I have met kids like that, and they are doing really well.
Wait,
Adil, Isa, what are you talking about?
what do you mean by 10 years?
What?
To become
Why'd
a
you
good
give
enough
us
to write code for
downvote?
operating systems.
Okay. Downvote.
10 years to get good enough to
Yeah,
write
okay.
write code for operating systems,
Is that
which
it?
is somewhat the holy grail of a highly technical programmer.
He already has one.
Who
What we're
wait,
talking
what?
about,
Adli,
girl.
Adli,
Aslia.
Isa,
Adil.
I can't pronounce English. I can't
Adli
speak
Isa. Adli
Adli
Isa.
What do you mean by 10 years?
Adli Isa.
No, that's what I mentioned. 10 years to get to. There's a chart that says how many years you need to be a good enough programmer to do certain things. So probably the holy grail of a very technical programmer and a very back-end programmer is to write operating systems. The people who are hired by Apple and hired by Microsoft to write Windows and to write the Apple operating system, people like Linus Torvalds who wrote Linux. To be that kind of programmer takes something like 10 years of technical knowledge. And if people get shunted off and become UI, I'm being so judgmental, but if you go off and become management, you never get those 10 years. And I will admit, those kind of jobs aren't very available in Malaysia. But
Interesting, very interesting. Thank you for
I'm
that.
hearing something from your mom.
What is your hobby?
No,
Oh, this is my hobby! I make stuff because I'm a crafter.
Oh,
And I-
that's so cute.
So when you're not programming, you just grab the
Sometimes
screen.
when I'm programming, because you wait for
Yes,
your
you
download,
knit.
you wait for your test to run.
Okay, so you knit, right? And then you type the keys with your nose.
No!
Very. Yes, I know. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
yes.
Then
I
again,
can't
they
speak.
call him Mikhail.
Yes, people actually.
Hail, Mick.
Yes. People actually misspell my name to the point they say
I can
hail.
do it in here. Mikhail.
Yes.
Mikhail.
I
There you
think
go.
we've been on for an
Yes.
hour.
Yep,
I'm not
I
sure.
saw
Yeah,
the
it's
chat.
9:30. Okay, please, Auntie
wait,
Surya,
okay.
would you like to have any more last words?
Be fearless. Yeah. Anything you want to learn, don't fuss about how many gigs of RAM or how many this and that I need. Just jump in and do. Oh, I see. Anything you want to do, jump in and do it, and do it. Do the real thing. Yeah. That's kind of why I disagree with Scratch. It's not the real thing. If you want to be illustrated, do it and do it right and do it properly and enter competitions and try to sell your work and do the real thing as early
yes,
as
you
you
take my seat.
You left for 5 seconds. 5 seconds left for me to scramble into the seat and claim it as my own. Go to Tartarus.
can. And are any programmers I know extroverts?
Sorry,
Very
didn't
few.
happen.
Most of us are introverts. The stereotype of nerd exists because there's a grain of salt in it.
Okay. Mr. Ronto.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and check my brother's Telegram. Yes, very, very good of me touching his
Please.
the iPad.
Stop. Okay. Any like last words before we
Yeah.
where you can go to sleep.
I'm not that old. That hurts.
Right. What?
Just give my brother a moment to look at his iPad.
Wait, what? My dad's sending me what?
Oh, so
tomorrow.
now you look at
Oh, send it.
Discord again? Sacrilege!
Stop. Okay.
So for those of you who are watching tomorrow at 2 p.m. on Saturday,
Instead of 9.
instead of night, we have Hafiz, who was a supply chain expert for both Malaysia as well as IKEA. That's going on Saturday. And on Sunday, we have a game designer.
That's gonna be so cool.
Mark Terreno was the guy that created Age of Empires for Microsoft,
Whoa.
and he was with Oculus. That will be on
Lucky you guys.
Sunday at 2 p.m.
Alright, there's one more question in the chat. Okay, this is the last question in the chat.
What?
Hence, this one knows when he's an introvert, better not plan to become a programmer in the long run. That's a good common sense question.
As
Yeah,
Leah,
I wouldn't say
one
that. If you,
thing
I
to
think
say-
extrovert and introvert are not really.
we're gonna.
It's a spectrum. You might like people and still be a good programmer. I think the most important thing is to enjoy problem solving and have a high tolerance for frustration. Introvert, extrovert doesn't matter so much, but that love of problems, that joy in solving problems, that tolerance for frustration, that matters more.
As Leah,
Okay, thank
next
you.
time we interview a programmer, you can ask all your questions, okay? We're finishing and you keep asking questions.
Okay,
So
okay.
we can't
Okay,
finish
okay.
and we're gonna
Okay,
finish
thank
at
you.
1 o'clock.
Okay, thank you, guys.
No, I wouldn't let that happen.
Okay, thank you
Thank
so.
you all so
so
much
much,
for
guys.
watching. Please join us at 2 p.m. tomorrow for Hafiz someone.
Okay. Last question. This is gonna be the last
What
question.
is a good place to start programming any
Last question.
For kids, Khan Academy. Khan
Yes,
Academy is basic
Hans
JavaScript
Paul
programming is
Gregory
very
Paul.
good.
Okay, this is the
Uh,
last question. I'm not gonna tolerate anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, I quite agree. This is the last one.
Okay.
Khan Academy, their JavaScript course is great. It's free. Go for
You
it.
just need to sign up. You just need to like log in and then boom.
Yep, it's
Alright.
great.
Thank you all
yeah.
so much for.
My kids wrote a
On
game
his
on that. so.
computer.
Thank you all so
Computer.
much for coming and staying for an hour. Hope you
Yeah.
all enjoyed. Goodbye.